So in class, I had you go over these graphs and work on them together. And now I kind of want to walk you through how to look at them and give you, excuse me, some of the answers to think about. And what I want to emphasize is that you're given some key points on these graphs. And I'm looking at the top graph first. And the key point here is that you have a position starting at 0. So this would be where I've defined some sort of axes. This is something you're going to need to get in the habit of doing. Right, so I'm going to define up as positive and to the right as positive. So if I'm above the axes, I'm defining that as like going up. So I'm going in a positive direction. Okay, so when I look here and I'm at point 0 and I stay at point 0, well, that means I'm at rest. So here I'm at rest. I haven't moved from my origin. Now at this point in time, what do we have going on here? I'm starting from rest and I have this constant slope. Let's see, what do we define the slope as there? So I'm going to have some x final minus x initial, and that's going to be divided by, let's see, this is all a period of time that's going over, so divided by a change in time. Well, we've defined that as velocity. So if this slope is constant, the velocity is constant. And one of the questions asks, let's see, when is it accelerating? When is it accelerating? Accelerated motion. There we go. So that's definitely not it. And I look at here, from here to here, let's see, I have this negative slope. So what's going on there? I have a change in position that gives me a smaller x in the end. So my x final is smaller than my x initial. And that's over some change in time. So what does that mean? That means that I've now defined myself. Let's see, I've gone out. My original vector is going out like that. Well, now I'm coming back towards the origin. So that vector is pointing like in that direction. So if that's the case, that's in a direction I've defined as negative. So this would be, let's see, let's label that. This is a positive velocity. This would be a negative velocity because it has a slope. So come right here, and if we wanted to, we could even figure out is it slowing down or speeding up, and we look at that by the slopes themselves, how steep they are. So how steep they are over the amount of time is going to tell me how fast it's going. Now what's happened at this point C here? So I've gone out, I've come back, I've hit this x0 at the origin. So I'm back at where I started from. So this would be the equivalent of like driving out and then coming on back. So I hit where I'm coming from, and then I'm just going to keep going. So I'd say, if from my eyes, from about here to here, I have what I've defined as a negative velocity. So as far as my position goes, now I've gone right on past it. So this arrow and this arrow here. So this is my velocity in the negative direction. That's the slope. I've gone past the origin and kept on going. Now, let's see what's happening here. Well, I don't have a constant slope. That means acceleration. Acceleration. So for where am I accelerating? I'm accelerating in this little section here, where I have a changing slope. And one of the ways to look at that is, what is my slope? Well, we define that as the tangent to the line. So I'm going to have all these little arrows kind of going off in different directions. So if my tangent line, if this vector that follows right alongside the line is going in different directions, I'm accelerating. Okay, so let's see, I'm accelerating here, so I've changed my velocity. And now what's happened? So I changed my velocity, and now I have this positive slope. Well, one of the things we define as acceleration would be a change in direction. Change in direction. So I have a change in acceleration or a change in direction is acceleration, or a change in velocity. Let me be clear about that. Change in velocity. So I have some acceleration going on here. I'm turning a corner. I'm heading back towards the origin. Well, in doing so, let's see what's happened here. So now I've kind of like done some little whoop-de-whoop, and I'm heading now back to whence I came. And now let's do this in a different color. Now I have a vector coming back towards the origin, and it's going to pass the origin here and continue on. And this slope, the line's not drawn very well, but it is constant. So cool. So I've looked at this to see what have I decided. I've changed the directions here, heading back to the origin. I keep going past the origin. And one of the questions says, when am I going in reverse? Well, I have no acceleration here. I go from a positive to a negative. If I go to from a positive to a negative, and I don't have any kind of acceleration happening, this would probably be, well, I'd have to have acceleration because I'm changing direction. This would probably be the point where I'm going in reverse. That's one way to look at it. Do the next, or the bottom graph on the bottom, or on the next video.